we go, but we'd like to invite Nalita James, to speak to our to us next, please, and hope she's available. Great.
I am here. Thank you. Excellent. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah, fine, Nalita.
Hi,
yeah.
Nice to be here. Nice to be with you. I hope you can see my slides, and I've got them in presentation mode.
Yeah, brilliant.
It's really great to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And the first two presentations really interesting. Hopefully, link really nicely with what I'm going to share with you, which is a project which I'm currently doing at the Leicester Adult Skills and Learning Service, which is a local authority adult education college, and the project is currently funded by the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, which is called Real English in Action, which is a project that's been running for the last year. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the project and some of the outcomes of that, but I just want to put a context to the project that we're currently running. So to say, firstly, we've got low levels of literacy and numeracy in the adult population in England, which has been a long-standing issue, despite several decades of policy intervention, and it's proving stubbornly difficult to reverse. And very recently, we had the white paper on further education, which, although reaffirmed the government's commitment to improving adult literacy and numeracy. So in relation to skills for life, English, maths, ESOL and digital skills, which of course is very welcome. The challenge, and I'm sure that's something that we can reflect on later, is an immense one. And we've got an estimated 9 million adults of working age struggling with low basic skills. And then at the same time, there's a demand for ESOL which has increased tremendously due to the influx of migrants from the extended European Union, and also because of the growth in demand for ESOL from refugees and settled immigrant communities. And it's that latter point really which is the focus of this presentation. So in our project, we wanted to very clearly understand, in terms of the Leicester context, what we meant by community cohesion. And for us in the project, we saw that as something that happens in all communities to enable different groups of people to get on well together. We also saw a key contributor to community cohesion was linked to integration and what must happen to enable new residents and existing residents adjust to one another. And community cohesion was finally about people having a shared vision and a sense of belonging. Now, from those definitions and those concepts, that seems very straightforward, based upon people living together by adapting to each other and responding to emerging demographical changes. But of course, for such adaptation, the ability to speak English is regarded as a key factor in promoting the way newly arrived migrants and immigrants live with those who've made a long-term commitment to living here. And so that term getting on well, as referred to in the definition, it actually implies a two-way communication between new migrants and settled communities, but also suggests very high expectations from migrants in terms of language and integration. So, as really alluded to in the previous slide, the recent re-emergence of language for integration, and this was alluded to in the previous presentation as well, bears very high expectations for my immigrants and migrants, and to be able to communicate in a host language is seen as a step towards effective access to individuals' rights and public services that enable them to play an active part in our society. And to play an active part in our society, it's viewed that individuals need to learn about citizenship and have the ability to speak in English. So there's a focus on a new identity as a British citizen, on values, our values and cultures. So I think that's something for us to think about as part of this workshop today, and what that actually means. So linked to that, to talk about our project, the project is called Real English in Action, set down within a context of recent developments in ESOL policy, around social integration, around community cohesion, around citizenship and identity and employability. And the main aim of the project has been to provide the residents of Leicester who have low levels of English, is to provide them with a functional ESOL programme, a functional skills ESOL programme that enables them to use and develop their language skills in real life situations. And an additional aim was to promote and raise awareness for our ESOL learners of the available facilities and services within the City of Leicester, and how that, and to aid understanding about increasing their community cohesion and integration. So just to give you a little bit of a context about Leicester. So Leicester has the largest long-term non-UK born population. Just to provide a little bit of context, we've got 355,000 residents, and we're the 9th largest city in England, with around we've got a diverse range of faiths and communities, with Leicester residents coming from over 50 different countries. And around a third of Leicester residents are born outside of the UK, and 34% of those, that's about 53,000, have arrived in the UK between 2001 and 2011. So that's based on the last census, and that has increased since then. So in terms of the ESOL programme, and as I say, this is an ongoing project. The project so far has involved the design of 3 6-week courses, which we've been delivering over an academic year. The target group has been migrants with low levels of English, so at entry 1 and entry 2, and the group has been meeting once a week, firstly in the college pre-pandemic, and then we suddenly had to move the programme online. One of the unique features of the taught programme has been giving the participants that opportunity to experience real English in action, and that's involved developing partnerships with local organisations, with businesses and charities, but also working with higher level ESOL learners as volunteers, to take our learners on trips to visit a local museum, to support them in being able to book tickets, to go to the theatre and see a show, to be able to go to a cafe and order some food, or even to begin to think about volunteering in local charity shops. So this method of teaching has been really different for our ESOL lower level courses. The focus being, as I say, on real life, but also involving a participatory approach to teaching and learning, influenced by the work of Freire. And the starting point really then, this starting point has really inspired our learners to come together themselves to explore the problems of the communities that they live in, to explore their lived experiences as they learn to speak English. In terms of our research model, just a very quick overview, we've worked so far with over 300 learners. The courses are taught across different community settings in the city, including both men and women with low-level abilities of English language, and their age range from 21 to 72. So a very broad population. Our main data collection tools, we've done focus groups with the learners, with the help and support of translators. We've run some individual interviews, and we're also looking at end of course evaluations. And we've also done some interviews with coordinators and tutors and volunteers. So what we're finding so far, so in terms of some of the themes that are emerging for us, one of those is about community of place. Many of our participants have commented, or learners have commented on how they are starting to develop a stronger sense of belonging to Leicester as they begin to learn more about the city. But the engagement in the new experiences that we've provided through the participatory teaching, which takes them outside their comfort zone, has had an extremely positive experience for them. And this acknowledgement of the importance of English is a positive finding, in the sense that they begin to feel as though they have that sense of belonging, which is about the neighbourhood. And the neighbourhood is something that came out very strongly in terms of how they were describing the community of place. And when they talked about neighbourhood, that they talked about that in terms of not only the street that they lived on, but also the surrounding areas that they were beginning to become familiar with. And you can see here there's some quotes from the participants where they talk about how they're beginning to meet with other people, or they're now beginning to take their children to a museum, which they would not have done before. In terms of overcoming barriers, the accounts of their experiences are beginning to show how opportunities for practicing language in the ESOL classes and in everyday social interactions has increased their confidence to speak, to communicate in a wider range of situations, and without actually worrying about making mistakes, and also with less reliance on their family, particularly their children. And some of the participants have commented on an increasing sense of independence, and a further increase in beginning to think about what a future might look like for them, in terms, particularly in terms of employability. And as we can see here in the quotes, some of our participants are beginning to think about what they might want to do as a future career, but also they're talking about how they are now experiencing new things for themselves, you know, going to a restaurant with their families and actually ordering sort of food and having that confidence to do that. Okay. My final slide here is about the importance then of English, of ESOL as a vital area of community-based provision, particularly for Leicester and nationally. And the government's 2019 Integrated Communities Action Plan has highlighted that ESOL provision is fundamental for achieving integrated communities, for improving individuals' confidence and quality of life, and enabling them to access employability or further education. And I think this is something for us to reflect on in terms of the rhetoric of government policy and the reality. But as this tutor coordinators reflected, whether they are long-term residents or new arrivals, the Adult Education College is providing them individualised support so that they can support their children with their homework, make new friends, raise their self-esteem, confidence, and, you know, they feel good about themselves, and that reflects on their family life and other members, relatives and friends. As a result of this, the whole community benefits. And I'll finish there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nolita. Again, tremendous food for thought, and I particularly found the last quote really powerful in the context of what we've already heard this morning.